Hi, welcome to the Ministry of Random Opinions. It's an evening one. It's 9:45 where I am, and I've been death scrolling through YouTube and Instagram, looking at various different bits and pieces, and I kind of wanted to sort of follow up with the immigration post that I made a couple of days ago, but also just kind of some observations about how crazy the world's got and is getting, and just to give you my opinion on that. So let's get into it. So let's talk about immigration first. So I've just watched The Rest is Politics, which is a YouTube channel that I subscribe to and I rate highly. I do actually rate both Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart very much. I think they've got quite a measured view of the world. Some might say it's slightly skewed. Others, and you know, they people can level accusations, but it doesn't really matter. But it was quite interesting what they were saying. This was a post that a video that they made called, I think, Britain's immigration issue, what's the solution? But actually it covers quite a bit more than that. And they actually start to talk about Greta Thunberg and the flotilla that landed on the shores of Israel with, Gaza with aid, as they saw it, and got arrested by the Israeli forces there. But this is quite interesting. We're talking about that a little bit, and for the first time, actually, I disagreed with Alistair on quite a number of things. Things that he spoke about. I will stick the link in the chat down below so you can see for yourself and you take a view on it. But I was quite interested. There was a couple of points that made me want to talk really about where we are as a nation, our standpoint on things, and specifically around the immigration bit. I mean, I'll leave the Greta Thunberg bit and the Israel-Gaza conflict to one side. Predominantly, I might talk about it at the end, but we'll see. But one of the things that was that came out of it was this view that Britain should attract the brightest, the best and brightest from other countries into universities and stuff like that. And it kind of struck me why that message, whilst it sounds great and the public buy it, and it creates great sound bites for politicians, that actually is never going to happen. And there's a couple of things they said which I drew on, and a couple of things that I've observed that I'll add to it. But one of the striking points was actually, I think, from Rory Stewart, who said that his observation was that actually we maybe weren't attracting the best and brightest, and that actually we were accepting people into our universities that kind of had enough money to enter, number one, but weren't necessarily the best and brightest, and weren't necessarily going to provide the innovation that we think that our universities should drive. And actually, there is this, when we talk about universities, when we think about universities, what is their purpose, right? So we're educating kids to A level, and then some of those kids ship off to universities. And what's the point of university? Should it just be another 3 years of learning something banal and getting a piece of paper at the end of it that they can wave in front of an employer and off they go? And actually, I've started to reevaluate my view of university. Incidentally, 2 of my kids, one has been through university, the other one is about to go through university. So it's not that I decry the whole kind of university thing, right? And I encourage my kids to go to university. But at the end of the day, what are universities providing to us as a nation, to us as a population, to us as an economy? So there's a bit of a conflation here, but we're talking about immigration, and they were talking about, undocumented migrants, that's bad. Asylum seekers, there needs to be a solution. They had a great conversation, and Rory, I think, kind of nailed it on a couple of points. Alistair counter-debated. It's the first time, actually, I've seen them properly counter-debating. Maybe that's just because I haven't seen enough of their videos, but I haven't seen this counter-debate before, and I liked it very much. And I saw clearly the divide between centrist left and centrist right in their conversation. By the way, I didn't disagree with most of it, but they were creating counterpoints, and that was quite interesting. But going back to universities, what is the purpose of a university? If the university is there to continue the education of our people and put them in a position where they can get a job, they can get lots of money, well, great. How does that help us as a nation? Well, I suppose it gives us a skilled workforce at an upper executive level. Certainly, it does that. It furnishes that. But is it driving innovation? And so we talk about universities in terms of research and development and the things that they're doing. How much are those university intakes adding to that research and development and innovation, and then going on to attract funding and driving that innovation to create product? And let's take, for example, technology, which is the one that I think everyone gets most of a grasp of. How do they create technology and innovation, and are we attracting those people? And we have an indigenous or native population which are going into the universities, and then there's an international intake as well, which tends to bolster the university's funds, and give them a little bit more money to spend, which I kind of understand. But at the same time, are we attracting the best and the brightest? My argument here is that we're probably not attracting the best and the brightest, and that's because, counter to America, even now under Trump, by the way, and a lot of people are going to think, well, America's gone tits up, and it's not where it used to be, and people aren't going to universities. There's still this view that America provides this ecosystem of people that back, support, finance, innovation, and develop technology and innovation. That's still the case. I don't think Trump is changing this, right? So I still think that's happening now. What I don't see in this country is I don't see a counter to that. So I don't see the innovation, the funding, the capital investment in the brightest. And what we're finding that, for example, let's say someone goes to university in the UK from Estonia, they're a coder, they've got an innovation, they bring an innovation, etc., etc. What we're also seeing, and this was a case study that was used by Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart, was that person then relists on the US stock exchange because they know they can get more money there. They know that people are prepared to back innovation and technology in a far more robust way than we are in the UK. So one of the stalwarts, if you like, to support immigration, legal, documented immigration, and subsequent residential permits and work permits, is that we're bringing in the brightest and the best. Forget the debate around the outskirts, which is the reform debate and the misguided conservative debate, and even a little bit of a misguided Labour debate around immigration and this kind of whole generalist kind of view of what immigration is, and I've already done that video. One of the stalwarts is around our universities being the best in the world and attracting the best and the brightest. I don't know whether we are. And I don't know whether Labour is going far enough to invest in the best and the brightest. When we attract the best and the brightest to our country, it's not just about university. It's also about residency, innovation, investment, support, and also when they make money, what we do with that money, how we treat them, how are they taxed. I just don't think we have the attitude in the UK that supports success, innovation, entrepreneurs. I just don't think that's us. The question is, do we change that view? Do we as a society need to change that view? Do we need to welcome entrepreneurs? Do we need to welcome those that are prepared to take a risk, that bring innovation to this country, that use our universities as a way of kind of, reinforcing that learning, using the research facilities to, progress their innovation, and then being able to, find funding, strong funding that supports and has a decent risk appetite to support stuff that might seem risky but, has high reward. I just don't think we as a nation do. And that worries me. So just taking one small slice of immigration and expanding on it, that's what this video is about. I am going to touch on the Greta Thunberg argument. And it's a very simple one. So Greta Thunberg, a couple of years back, made waves across the globe because she was zoned on by the media. She had a story. She had a mission. And whether you like her or not, and I don't know whether I'm really that much of a fan, but whether you like her or not, she had an impact and she made a difference, maybe. But since then, the environment has gone backwards. Countries opting out, not doing as much, relaxing some of the measures that they put in place. All of these things have stymied the environmental effort. And Greta's gone quiet. We didn't hear from Greta. And I was listening to this podcast, the Restless Politics podcast, and I think, I don't know whether it was completely floated, but it was certainly insinuated, maybe by Rory, maybe, I can't remember exactly. But there was this view that, that maybe, Greta wasn't, out there anymore. She wasn't, attracting the attention. She wasn't appealing to the younger generation like she was. And I think I know why. And I think it's the anti-woke agenda. And I think what you'll see is the anti-woke sentiment from the US has started to cascade across the globe. That's being picked up by various different organisations. Corporate, have stopped, putting pride colours on their websites and pride flags and support for, minority, communities. And we've seen that. I mean, you can see that. That's evident. Just go on some big corporate websites and see if you can find, the whole kind of DEI concept. It's just gone away, right? And even organisations that are supposed to support truth and, everything else, and report news, not opinion, like the BBC, for example, have now taken a very anti-woke agenda. I think the reason why Greta Thunberg isn't making the headlines is because the media have lost interest because the political mood has changed, right? I think that's a sensible conclusion. I think we can all say that. She doesn't get the airtime. She doesn't get the column inches. She doesn't get the video time, right, on BBC anymore. And therefore what she does isn't really consequential. So when we all talked about the young savior of the planet, actually, it wasn't the young savior of the planet. It was about the appetite for media to report about the young savior of the planet. This worries me intensely. And the reason why it worries me intensely is because I believe in the young, right? I wish I was one. I wish I was still young. But I believe in the young and always have done. New ideas, fashions, trends, ideals are going to come from young people. They're going to bring new ideas. People like me will go and retire, live in a wood in an old wooden cottage somewhere. I'll do whatever. And they're taking over the world. And they should have their place. They should absolutely have their place. They should be given license to do so. But what worries me is that the media are still being directed by the old guard, the old people that have the wealth and the power that dictate the political landscape and how we should all think and how we should all react. And that leaves the young with no voice. I decry social media a lot. I have a lot to say about social media, but trust me, if social media is their vehicle to get their voice back, then they should use it. Now, there are a lot of bad things in social media, but as long as you go present on social media facts, you have a supporting case study that you absolutely know, what you're saying is fact and should be done, and you believe in it passionately, and you're not just looking at another social media thing and just getting your ass on about that, right? Unlike me on this, referencing another podcast. But as long as you believe in it and you have some mechanism to say you think that it was work and you've worked it through and you have the evidence of that working, and you should goddamn go out there and say, Now, how does that work back to Greta Thunberg? Well, Greta, she had all of that, but she relied on the traditional media. That's how we felt her. She did a lot of stuff on social media, but we didn't necessarily see it. It wasn't in our algorithm. Then, people like Greta, who have a voice and have a say on the planet, should find a different way of communicating. And it's not the way we communicated as old fuckers, right? Those communication channels, you should take control of their message and their broadcast mechanism, and that's what they should do. By the way, I've had a bottle of wine before I recorded this video, so it might be a bit squiffy, but fuck it, I'm going to post it anyway. It's the Ministry of Random Opinions, right? Like and subscribe. I love all of you.